So we are live. We are live. Go live. All right. Here we are. Well, hey everybody, welcome. Good evening, good night. I hope everyone's well. Sorry for the 20-minute delay. It's a thing, right? When you're married, you got kids, and you got a whole bunch of people.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Stuff
Good
like that's
evening,
gonna
good night.
happen.
I hope everyone's well. Sorry for the 20-minute delay.
That's gonna be really weird.
It's a thing, right?
All
When
right,
you're married, you got kids, and you got a whole bunch of people.
Hey
everybody.
So the Instagram is up, but it's in my background, so that's freaking weird.
20-minute delay.
So give me a second.
So the Instagram is up, but it's in my background, so that's 20-minute delay.
So give me a second. All right. So I guess I don't know. But so welcome to the show, everybody. We'll have to edit that out. So Staff Sergeant David Lynn Camp.
Yeah, you got it.
Lynn Camp. So hey guys, I appreciate everybody who's hopping on. I appreciate everybody. I know it's been a little bit. So before we talk about the guest and before we really get into it, I just want to first of all thank everybody out there who listens to the podcast, because I've had a lot of people reach out in the past 9 months of me being back on recruiting duty. And I have had a little bit of a lull in between episodes, and it's just, to be honest, it's hard to maintain a podcast, and especially one about recruiting duty when you're on recruiting duty, because you have to be very careful with what you're saying and everything like that. So I'll be honest, it's just kind of a hard thing to do. And then also with finding time with the family and everything like that. So definitely want to apologize to everybody. But at the same time, I want to say thank you to everybody, because it feels really good to have people that have reached out saying, hey, dude, where are your episodes? Why haven't you been dropping? I need them. So it really means a lot to me, guys. So for those of you who do reach out and say, hey, where's the next content and where's the next stuff coming out? I'm going to be attempting to really try hard to drop one a week from now on. So I'm going to get ahead of myself so I can start dropping them every week for you guys. But the biggest thing I need from the listeners is please just let me know what kind of knowledge you guys are looking for. Let me know different topic points and stuff like that. And then this way we're going to have new guests. And if you guys have somebody that you know that you want on the show, please, please, please reach out to me and let me know, because I'm always looking for new guests and new people to have on. But without further ado, Staff Sergeant David Linnenkamp is going to be our first musician on. We did have Gunny Dutton, but we didn't talk about MEOP. We didn't talk anything about that. So this is going to be our first official episode about the Marine Musician Program. And we're going to dive into it, talk about his story, and then just learn more about the knowledge-based stuff to help the recruiters out there and also the candidates as well. So without further ado, brother, please introduce yourself for everybody, and we'll kind of go from there.
Hey, Benny, I really appreciate that. I'm a longtime listener to the podcast, so it's really an honor to come on here, talk about the stories, a little bit about myself. I'm Staff Sergeant David Linnenkamp. I've been in the Marine Corps for 9 years, coming in as a trombone instrumentalist in 2014. I went to the Naval School of Music in Virginia Beach, then Mar Forez, the Marine Forces Reserve Headquarters, New Orleans Band, active duty. Then going over to the Parison Marine Band for about 3 years. And now I'm currently on recruiting duty as a campusing recruiter over at RS Raleigh. So can speak to a little bit of the musician side of the working musician, and then what it's like to be as a street recruiter and how it relates, finding me operators trying to relate on a personal and professional level. For me, I was recruited out of high school. Straight from the MEOP program. I was actually, founded a McDonald's. Recruiter man found me. So it still works. Tried and true method.
Nice. So what was it that the recruiter had said to you, or like how did you were a high school senior currently in the band? How did he approach you? Do you remember that? Like, what was it? Because clearly you're sitting at McDonald's. So I'm assuming, unless you had like your instrument with you coming from school, did he know you were an instrumentalist, or did that kind of come up in the conversation as he was building rapport with you?
No, it came in the conversation. I'm going to be honest. I was thinking about military bands very loosely as like a sophomore or junior. I did realize like there's not a lot of stable ways to make money as an instrumentalist. A lot of it is just gig work here and there. And then even after college, you either need to have connections or it's the same thing. So this was on the back of my mind, but it wasn't enough to like reach out to a recruiter. I'm there with my father, like at the McDonald's. He starts bringing up conversation. Um, it was really funny because my dad would always brag about my accomplishments, being the best trombone player in the state, winning kind of like all county, all district, all state accolades. And then he goes up to recruiter man. He's like, "You need to set up an audition for this young man." And then the recruiter man's like, "Hey, we don't do that. Like, I'm not that guy." He's like, "Well, you need to do it for this one." And then it just goes
That's
into an
awesome.
interview. Yeah, it was looking back, just like a nervous young man. Like, have you thought about this? Oh, a little bit. I don't know. This really wasn't like a hot lead situation. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
laid out the benefit
Dude,
tags.
oh wait,
Just
hold on, hold on, hold on. He and I don't know if I'm misunderstanding the story here, but so he AC'd you at the McDonald's and he had his benefit tags with him?
no, he did. We didn't have enough time for an interview. He had to go back on the road. Like I'm in like a non-working school, like priority three area. I came from like
Wait,
a women's high
what?
school. Yeah. So
Yo, listen, man. Whoever that recruiter is, I hope to God he's still in the Marine Corps. The idea that this man was out ACing and that he had the tenacity and the intestinal fortitude to walk up to you with your dad sitting there and then do this entire benefit tag presentation, like that's crazy, man. That's insane, dude.
my recruiter's now Chiwo over on New Bern.
Okay.
Just yeah, doing Seaburn. Got to talk to him for a little bit coming out here, but yeah, I mean, looking back or looking at it now, I definitely do feel like a unicorn in that aspect. But I mean,
Yeah.
you never know who's going to be your one. So
Yeah, dude. Wow,
and
that's
in my life,
crazy.
yeah.
So going into so first of all, let's get an understanding of you, right? So how did you find yourself in music? How long have you been playing, and how long had you played before even auditioning and finding out about the Marine Corps band? Like, what was your background at that point?
So I started playing music at the age of 10. Played this instrument called a euphonium, which is like a tiny tuba. Like you don't make money anywhere unless it's in a military band playing this instrument professionally. So that's where I first started like learning about like military bands, army band, marine band. Um, Learned up to pick up a couple other different instruments, bass guitar in the back, trombone, which is now my main instrument for the Marine Corps. Um, I came from like a small but competitive band program, and a lot my one of my best friends' older brother and older sister actually did MEOP. So I kind of had exposure to a little bit of it, but nothing too much to drive action. I played at church. I did like the all district, all county, all state, like kind of winning accolades in the state for playing music. I knew it was my passion. And then on the outside, I would play at church, and then I would end up playing in like rock reggae bands or bar bands for money. So like it was apparent to me like instead of working on like AP classes, my focus like I wanted to do music. I just really didn't have the how to make it stable, and the Marine Corps filled that need not just with tangible stuff but with intangible benefits such as like discipline, leadership, and challenging myself, a sense of personal satisfaction, which we can kind of talk more about later.
No, yeah, definitely, man. So that actually leads into my first like real question, right? How So I'll be honest, there's a young man that I'm working right now, and I've been speaking with him back and forth for quite a while. And he, from our first conversation, wanted to be a Marine, was all about it. But he actually has somebody in his family who is a retired Marine who's telling him, "Hey, man, the Marine Corps is not the place for you. You need to go and do another branch or do music in another branch." And in my mind, I'll be honest, I don't really know anything about music, but in my mind, I'm like, dude, like Marine Corps band is the band. Like, like we're the band, right? So the question that I would have for you is, talking to somebody who is a senior in high school, or junior, or someone who's going through their high school years right now, and they have that passion, that burning desire like yourself, and they're asking the same questions that you were. Dude, where can I go? Where am I going to be able to go? What insight would you have for them when it comes to seeking out a recruiter, talking about this program and stuff like that? Because there are so many people who are, I don't want to say against it, but as soon as they hear Marine Corps or military, they're opposed to it. So what would you say to those people that were in your shoes, that are in your shoes right now? Like, how would you explain this to them? Why should they look into it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think you're doing everything you need to as a recruiter in order to just expose them to the Marine Corps. They need to get accustomed to, no matter what happens, being a Marine first and foremost. You will go to boot camp, you will go to combat training, you will end up doing collateral duties outside of playing music, but 90% of your job is music. And that is the goal of the MTA or other different musicians, maybe recruiters who were musicians in your area, to bridge that gap. Because even if you have the most product knowledge, the young man or young woman, they're gonna want to hear it from another musician
Yeah,
that
exactly.
that gives them that warm and fuzzy about it. And experiences do vary. You see, not all bands deploy. I think the last band that had deployed had been in about 2014, 2015. But a lot of bands end up doing collateral duties. I know Quantico has helped with the migrant crisis or did COVID detainment units. The band down in Lejeune did just an infantry immersion training, and they just end up doing a lot of cross training for different things. The band in Third Meth went out to Korea, did training with the Rock Marines, just a little bit of music, but a little bit of being in the Marine Corps, and they have to be comfortable with that. But your job is music. Like, you're not just going to be pushed as a musician. The thing that you love about being in a professional music ensemble, discipline, camaraderie, teamwork, leadership, all the intangible traits that make the Marine Corps not like other branches, that should appeal to the young men or young women as well. And it's going to feed into the music, that when you're with a like-minded set of group of people such as Marines making music, that is such a powerful feeling when everything comes together. And I mean, a lot of other branches don't have that level of camaraderie, teamwork, and brotherhood, which is something you can use for those strengths. So it is about the intangibles, for better or
Yeah,
for
no,
worse.
and that's so true, man. And I can see it, every time that I've been around the Marine Corps band, or every time that I've met a Marine Corps band musician. I've heard that exact same thing, like the brotherhood, camaraderie, like coming in together. Because a lot of you guys also have bands outside of work. Like a lot of you guys, like if you're stationed in NOLA, are out playing different clubs and stuff like that when you're not at work. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? I think that what happens, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like what happens to a musician when they think military band, they think like there's no fun in it, and it's going to be this strict marching, and I'm not going to have the ability to put my own pizzazz on it. And it's like, well, dude, it's time and place type thing. Like, there are going to be times where you're going to go and perform, and you're going to do things for the president, or you're going to do things for dignitaries, or you're going to do things for these different things. But at the same time, there are also going to be times where you're like William Thayer, who goes out and is doing a rock band concert in uniform at an event, right? So, like, can you kind of talk to us about the everyday life of a musician, but starting from the training portion of it, right? So, like, hey, I just auditioned. How does the auditioning look? And then once I do get approved, how does the training look? Clearly after the boot camp and MCT, but like, how does that look from the training aspect?
So once you go with the recruiter, make sure that you're physically and mentally qualified. Some people, they end up getting the medical qualification at MEPS first and then go into the MEOP program. And some people, they might just be job locked for MEOP before going to MEPS. I was that person. I mean, it is what it is. But once you take your audition with the MTA, the best thing you can explain to like a young man or woman, that treat it like a college audition. You're going to have uh, professional band excerpts, professional orchestra excerpts. So if you say that to a young man or woman that is very serious about their music, they know exactly what you're talking about. A lot of it's going to be college level music basically, and of different styles, like something fast and technical, something slow and lyrical, something that's a jazz piece or a rock piece. And if it's an instrument that's normally in a jazz band, think like guitar, piano, drums, something that has to improvise. You might have to do improvisation, jazz improvisation, to show like your level of skill. But those are bonus points and sometimes not always a requirement. Once you do get accepted into the program, you pass the audition, you're in the delayed entry program, which can really be a selling point because a lot of musicians, like, they're not that familiar with the physical aspect of it. If I didn't have the delayed entry program, I would not have been successful, and I don't think I would have been like mentally and physically ready to tackle boot camp for being in it for 9 months. So definitely weaponize that you can get a young man such as myself to go from one pull-up as a high school senior that's never done a sport in his life to doing 11 pull-ups before going to boot camp and having my life secured. So, and then from that point, I mean, sorry, delay entry program, we love it. Like, it's, please use that as a source to develop confidence. But from that point, you're going to go to boot camp, you're going to go to combat training, and from that point, you're at the Naval School of Music. You're receiving private lessons, music theory, ear training. You're basically taking the first 2 years of like college music classes and jamming it into 6 months. So without any of the filler, core classes the college has, you're just doing straight music. And it's not just, you're learning how to march, how the Marine Corps marches. You're learning like how to play different styles of music, how the Marine Corps plays it. But you're also learning not just classical etudes, jazz etudes from the very best Marine and Navy musicians that we have in the fleet today to teach you. Like, it's one-on-one private lessons with individuals that either have their masters or doctorates or at least play at that level.
Oh,
From that
wow.
point, yep, we've got very good people. We cross-train with the Navy as well, so you're receiving a lot of top-notch education from amazing players. And from that point, you're going to transition to wherever your band is. So, and at that point, it's really up to you. I think the product knowledge you can give to the recruiter, that it's not just marching, it's not just concert band. If you want to work with music production, learn how to work behind sound, you can do that. If you want to learn how to write music, how to arrange music for the purposes, you have a professional musical ensemble and different opportunities to learn that talent and showcase that talent. If you want to work in music library, if you want to do public affairs for the Marine Corps band, we have all these small shops, or what we call logistical areas, that when we're not rehearsing music, you can develop these skill sets. For me, my skill set is sound and writing music, which without the Marine Corps, without these professional opportunities, you're not going to get this level of exposure and resume building just within a college. You're going to have active professional musicians to consistently play your music for dignitaries, for public events, which it's a major selling point that a lot of young men and women who are looking at this program simply don't know about. But it's up to you to take that. So
No,
you as
man, and it's so again.
you don't have to know everything about the program, but as long as you can forward it to either your local MTA or somebody who can communicate about that, be a proof source, then
Yeah.
it's going to be really successful.
No, yeah, definitely, man. And I think that's what I was looking for, right? Is understanding um how like thinking about the amount of training that you're receiving in such a little time, and then how all of these things are coupled together. Because in order for you to receive this type and this level of training in the civilian world, it would cost a lot of money, and it would cost a lot of time, and let's be honest, like the average musician doesn't have time or money, right? And it, something I heard a long, long time ago from somebody was, what is every musician looking for? They're looking for a constant gig, right? And this
Yep.
is that constant gig, because a lot of these people who have this love of music, let's be honest, most of them end up never getting to where they wanted to go, or they end up, becoming a professor of some sort, or working at a college, or working at a high school, and they were all part of these bands that never really made it. And it's and I don't mean that, and I say this all the time to people that I speak to, like, I don't mean that in a negative way. Like, I'm not telling you, hey, you're not going to make it. I'm not telling you to not strive for greatness. I'm not saying any of those things. I'm I'm just saying that if you play as good as you say you do, and there's an opportunity for you to travel the world and get even more training and college credits, and go to college, and go to, learn about music theory and learn about all these different things, for you to not look at the Marine Corps is kind of an insanity thing to me, right? And especially because every musician that I've ever met in the Marine Corps has multiple degrees, and they have all these different things, and and I've never heard anybody tell me a negative thing about the Marine Corps band. Like, no one's ever like, "Oh, dude, it was the worst 4 years of my life." Like, normally it's like, "Dude, I went here, I traveled here, I did this, I did that." So you really hear these great opportunities. So, like, what are some of the things that you would say in your 9 years of being in the Marine Corps that you have been able to receive from this program?
I've been to over 35 different states, played in Puerto Rico, Mexico City, played with a lot of, you know, for a lot of important events. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people see this as like a means to an end, but then you realize that the gigs you do are very personally fulfilling. That for me, that like there was an immense sense of honor to play for the victims of the Chattanooga shooting. You know, then realizing you are a part of something bigger than yourself. Playing for like anniversaries of 9/11 in front of 9/11 New York Police Department and firefighters. You know, participating in ceremonies in New York City, in California, for the Navajo Code Talkers. I mean, you truly are like the Marine Corps band brings a level of officialness to some of these events. Instead of pressing play on a boombox, you give these ceremonies the level of like dignified respect that the Marine Corps deserves, and you're a part of that. Like you are a national and international ambassador for the rigidity and discipline and spirit that the Marine Corps has. And it's been a huge blessing for me personally to be a part of that and to exemplify it. It's it's humbling, and it also makes you play to a higher standard, knowing that you're not just playing as a no name in your college, that you're not just playing in a local bar as a nobody. You're playing for important events, for funerals, for ceremonies that mark some of the largest and proudest moments of people's lives, especially the Marine Corps graduations. Although we take it as like every Friday you got to play the graduation, like that might be the only time somebody gets a band at their graduation, like gets like a full like ceremony, and it's a really like magical piece that you get, especially as a young man or young woman that gets to play in this. So and whether you do this straight out of high school, you have the chops, or some people end up dropping out, a year or two after college, realizing it's not what they thought it was. They're losing money, and they end up doing this. And some people, they go the music education route. They get that bachelor's degree, they get that master's degree, but when they start teaching, it wasn't what they thought it was. They're not making
Yeah,
as much money as they
yeah.
thought they were going to. It was disillusioned, and so now
Mhm.
they're coming into the Marine Corps with a renewed state of mind and like a respect for like what we do and how we do it. And it takes all different kinds of people within this organization. But
Yeah. And I think that's an amazing thing too, and that's one of the things I love about the Marine Corps, right? In all parts of it. there's people that have come from all facets of life. Like you have people who are joining at 28, you have people who are joining at 21. Like there's a guy here in RS New Jersey, Staff Sergeant Betty, who he, from what I understand, I actually was talking to him on Friday about it. He was actually at a university for music. And he was in his life at the time, he was like, his brain was rattled because he was like, he saw all of his friends in their fourth year. They were graduating. They didn't have any jobs. They didn't have any careers. And he was in his like, I think his third year of college. And he was like, what am I going to do with this degree once I have it? And he was going to school for music. And he was very, very good at his, at the instrument he was playing. And I guess he said that like every Wednesday at like 4 o'clock, they had like this mandatory musician meetup that everybody had to go to, and they would talk about these like different things. And he said he walked in the room and there was three Marine recruiters, and he was like, what's going on? And they just started talking about the Marine Corps band. And he said that at that moment it was like he knew like that was going to be part of his life. And I think it's stuff like that. Here you are, guy walks into a McDonald's, and and it's all these different stories, how all these different people, some people who've never heard of the Marine Corps, some people who've never even heard of, like, I know a young man, his last name was Mason. He was a Corporal Mason. I want to say his first name was Thomas, but he joined the Marine Corps out of one of my offices years ago, and he was a high school senior, and he was a drummer. But if I remember correctly, his family didn't have a lot of money, and they put together enough money to buy him a drum set. But then when it came to the audition, he had never used a mallet before. So he had to get a mallet, and then he had to learn how to do that entire thing because that was part of the audition. And after everything, he finally got the audition, got on the band, and now I believe he's still in the Marine Corps. I know he was stationed at Quantico for a little bit. His sister was also in, but but his story totally different. Inner city high school, didn't have much money, and all these different things, right? So I think it's beautiful that, and people say it all the time, right? Music bridges gaps, and it brings people together, right? And like you're talking about with playing at these funerals or playing at these big events for these different people, and or these, these memorials, and all these different things, it gives you a level of like you said, like discipline and want, and all these different things, and it's a level that you'll never reach in any other field, because like you're saying, if you have one mess up and it's at someone's funeral, that's
Mm.
a big deal, right? And that's why you guys go into depth, and so much training. So can you kind of talk to us about that? Like, what does the training look like? Because I gotta be honest, the last time I saw the band was back in December. I saw the Paris Island band, because we got to go see the General, and we saw it in the morning, dude. It was freaking freezing. Well, no, it was South Carolina, so it wasn't that cold, but I think it was like, I want to say it was like 30 degrees out, and you guys are sitting here and you're playing, and I think what the coolest thing was is that there was the conductor was a guy who flew in from somewhere else, and it wasn't like their normal conductor. And I thought it was so cool that this conductor that wasn't like theirs could still conduct them in a way that like you would never know that that wasn't their conductor. So can you kind of run us through like the training and what the typical day looks like when you guys are getting ready for an event and stuff like that?
I can speak personally about being at Paris Island. It's very regimented. It's very structured. Colors and grad on Friday, motivational run, a New Orleans style brass band on Thursday, sprinkled in with a couple different, change of command ceremonies, either in the local Paris Island area, Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, and occasionally doing recruiting tours to help Sixth District in that sense. But we're prepping for the gigs, and what that is we base our schedule around the rehearsals. PT obviously in the morning as a Marine from 6:30 to 7:30. Going to chow. Getting ready, getting your camis for all the appropriate rehearsals. practice makes permanent. Practice doesn't make perfect. If you practice something wrong, if you practice it without discipline, if you're not, locking your body, if you're not preparing to have that level of stress, those eyes placed upon you, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So practice does make permanent. We rehearse it over and over and over again, give the appropriate critiques to, take good and make it great, get everybody, no pun intended, on the same sheet of music. And then just the school of music really reinforces that level of discipline, playing it, standing at the position of attention, learning how to, play as perfect as you can. And if you make a mess up, not letting it show, having that level of discipline when you do play, and just getting everyone to the same standard, the Marine standard. So,
Nice. So
and
how important would you say it is, like when we talk about the discipline piece, how would you say that becomes incorporated through, and clearly it all starts in that becoming a Marine, right?
yes,
Coming in, becoming a Marine, going through boot camp. But how critical would you say that discipline piece is to one, just being a musician in general? And then on top of being a Marine Corps musician, like how critical would you say that key ingredient is?
I think it's everything that ties it together, and it's a really good talking point that if you ever do a band talk, you know, the things that make a great musician are what makes a great Marine,
Mm,
being able to work together as a team, the level of discipline, attention to detail, being prepared, being on time, all these different other soft skills that what intangible skills that make Marines Marines and what make great musicians great musicians. So you can always connect that, and it's a seamless integration when you tell the Marine Corps story, tell about the values that the Marine Corps stands for, and how that's going to make them a great musician. It's going to enable them, and
mm,
it kind of just ties everything together.
yeah.
If you want to be great, you know, you need stability, you need somebody holding you accountable, you need discipline, which a lot of musicians they do need, whether they realize it on the spot or you're able to help show them how much better they can be with the discipline. So it
Mm,
all connects, and it's a really
yeah.
good talking point whenever you talk to
No, yeah, it sounds
the
like it. Yeah. What now earlier you had said that every day as a Marine especially, you PT, you do your physical fitness thing. How important of an ingredient is that? Because I feel like with you playing, especially like a wind instrument, you have to have really good breathing techniques. You have to have very good cardiovascular, and then on top of that, you're marching, and then I don't know how much all of these different instruments weigh. They probably weigh a good amount. So when you guys are in the sun, and then sometimes you're in the cold, and all these different weather things are going on, inclement weather. How important is that key element as well? So we got discipline, we have physical fitness. Like that's also, I would assume that's a big part of it as well.
It is not as much to the extent as you think it would be. I would say that if you don't take care of your body, you don't eat, you will pass out on a gig, especially if it's like repeated over and over again. But the most important part about physical fitness is just like being a Marine, being physically fit will get you promoted faster. Promotion selections, like they do get cutthroat, and you can be passed over for promotion if you aren't physically fit, just like in any other um, area of the Marine Corps. So
Yeah. So let's talk about that as well, man. How does that work? And that's something that I've always been curious of, and I never really understood. How does the promotion system work for the band? Is it like cutthroat? Is it because I guess it seems like you guys do promote quicker, but I also don't want to assume things. So how does that promotion system look as opposed to other MOSs and stuff like that?
so the band over the last 10 years had promoted like categorically pretty fast as other different MOSs. If everybody's on top of their stuff, first class expert, people are getting E5 at about, you know, 2.5 years at the fastest. But if you had a degree in music, it was contract E5 at 3 years and even without a degree, contract E4 at 2 years. From that point, the pyramid, it's like a chunky pyramid. Things really slow down from sergeant to staff. And I mean, with the new changes in promotion requirements for that 4 year mark, the band SOUs changed so that contract E5 with a degree is at 4 years now. Things have slowed down significantly, in tune with the rest of the Marine Corps. And right now, promotions are actually getting pretty cutthroat. We've got about 5 to 6 pages of sergeants, and only 12 sergeants got promoted to staff, and 10 out of 12 of them were on an SDA.
So now when you go do on like when you're on the promotion board, because you're all the same OS, right? It doesn't matter what instrument you play, correct?
Right. There's
So
all
when it comes to like the promotion board and stuff like that, like does the instrument that you're playing come in account at all? Like do they promote like so many trombonists or trumpists, or I don't, is that a trombonist? Is that a word? But
no, that
like
is
when you're but yeah, so that's my like so is that like does that any of that come in account to it? Like, oh, we
it,
can't
it used to, but now it
okay.
doesn't. Everything's under 55, the 5500 field, the instrumentalist. However,
Okay.
when you get to staff or gunnery sergeant, that's when you start picking billets, whether you're the drum major, the guy that leads the parades, or you're an
Mm,
enlisted conductor, or what's called a production technician. Sorry,
okay.
a production manager, which is like managing the lights, audio, social media for the band. These are
Oh
like
wow.
billets that are classified in an MOS that have their own promotion tracks, some of
Oh
which are
wow.
faster than others. These are new, these are rapid. I actually haven't get the feel of like firsthand effects just because I've been out here on recruiting, but
Gotcha.
there are only a certain amount of allocations for each billet that you do choose once you hit that staff level. But
Yeah.
basically, from E1 to when you promote to E6, it's all under instrumentalist. You're competing with other instrumentalists based on your JPEG score and then your
Okay.
federal.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So here's another question for you. Be then kind of switching gears to the recruiting side of it. Do you as a me-opper, do you get the hey, you're a me-opper, so you should be able to find all the other me-oppers that we need? Like, does that I feel like that would happen. Like, I feel like they would whore you out to go to every single possible place across the state, across the RS, and then, I'm not saying listen, I'm not saying that your RS is doing this. I'm just asking, that since you are a me-opper, do you feel like you get tasked with things like that a lot, or like those expectations are there, or
Not a lot. I have done a couple EAC events with the XO and doing other different like large band festivals. But at the end of the day, you're not going to find all MEOPs at your big band festival, but you will find your alphas. So it's better to look at it like that. Not everybody is going to be qualified for the MEOP program.
Mhm.
And I get the occasional call from other recruiter men in the RS, helping sell the young man or woman, which is, what I'm there to do. Like it's a team effort. So any way I can help, I can. But I haven't written a single me offer. I'm doing pretty well out here, but it's just they are unicorns, and if you got them, you got them. If you don't, you just got to move on. So
Yeah, I think it's and so I'll be honest, man, the reason why I wanted to have this series, I'll be honest, I don't know how many episodes it's going to last. But I want to get a good enough amount of me operas on, just because we were talking about it yesterday, at our A Gunner chat, in our A Gunner training, and
yep.
it came up with the NRTC scholarship to me ops and stuff like that. And I don't want to sit here and say, hey, we don't have enough training on this, because that's not true. We learned about it in BRC, we learned about it while we're on the streets, right? But in my one thing that I've just kind of always saw is that I learn myself better from people who are doing the job telling me about their experiences. Um, and it's easier for someone who, and this is just my experience. In the past 6 years or so that I've been around the duty or on the duty, every band talk that I've ever given, the teacher who allowed me to give the band talk always said, is there any chance we could get a band member to talk to us? And it's like they're respectable to let me be there, but because I don't know enough, it's
Mhm.
not really helpful. So that's why I'm like, you know what? The best place for me to learn is from you. So that's why I wanted to get a bunch of MEOP guests on, to just kind of share their story, talk about the different programs, talk about the different promotion systems, and talk about everything so that this can go out to recruiters. And it's just another tool in their hat to listen to learn, and really just also share with any of their applicants that are looking at that route. So lastly, man, what would you say? You know, you're 2 years into your tour, so you've got about a year left. How would you say that this billet, right? This MOS currently 8411. How has it helped you in your growth as far as a musician? Do you see it attributing anything to that? Like, do you see that this is gonna, in the long term effect, help you as a musician?
I feel like it will. Your the connections you make on recruiting duty, it really does tie in to you understand the big Marine Corps picture, and as like a MEOPer, like you have a very close vision of what you do for the Marine Corps. But in context of the recruiting, like I had to take off the instrumentalist persona. I'm not a trombone instrumentalist. Like I am a staff sergeant. I am a Marine Corps representative for Wilson County and for Edgecombe County in Eastern North Carolina. Like my target demographic, they're not going to, jump at the idea. Me telling them that I'm a trombone instrumentalist is not going to help sell the Marine Corps, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
but me understanding what I know about music, how it helps me with all the intangible traits that make Marines successful Marines, that's what I can tie with it into my personality, into my agenda. So I very seldom even talk about, me being a musician in the Marine Corps, but I am a staff sergeant of Marines first and foremost. And so
Amen.
you have to weaponize that and you have to use that. And if you're doing a MEOP talk, use that to get in front of your alphas. Not everybody's going to be qualified for the MEOP program, and talk about the intangible traits that make successful musicians, will make successful Marines. Also, if you are dead set on finding a MEOP, just treat it how you would an NROTC. How would I find an NROTC? I go through all the varsity athletes. I'd pick the specific demographic I'm looking for. I'd find out who is at 4.0 or higher, and then you go for them. Same thing with MEOP. You go to your priority one, any band, you say, hey, who has made the all-state band here in New Jersey? You get your list of maybe one or two kids. Hey, I want to talk to you. Are you a senior? Just go from there, because then they'd be qualified. Pack them out, do what you need to. But other than that, you just gotta move on. The intangible traits will win every time. What makes a successful Marine will make a successful musician, and vice versa. So
Amen, man. I gotta tell you, man, I like that a lot. Because I've never heard that, and I do like that a lot. An intangible marine is gonna make a really good musician, man. That's awesome. So what do you have for us? Any last thoughts? Anything that you can think about that you would want somebody, whether they're a recruiter or whether they're somebody looking at the MEOP program, what would you want them to know, or any last words that you got for us?
use the delayed entry program to build confidence, like in that young man or woman who is thinking about the step. Not every musician like has that level of physical fitness, getting adapted to the culture. They have to get adapted to being a Marine, first and foremost. That is so important. I cannot stress that enough. And it really, yeah, it comes down to the intangibles. That's really the biggest thing. You know, discipline, challenge, self-direction, self-discipline. Like you can sell the job of being a musician, you can have all the product knowledge, but if they're not in it, like for the intangibles, for becoming a Marine, for being a part of something bigger than yourself, then that might not be the right person for the organization. So,
Mm. Amen, man. And you know what? Great way to end it. That's something for us to think about, right? Until next time, like as recruiters, especially, we have to remember that we are putting people in an organization, people that are going to Number one, people that we're taking away from their families and making better, and we're supposed to be returning a quality product to the community. Well, not a product, but you know what I mean. A quality civilian to the community. And then on top of that, we got to ensure that we're fulfilling our duties by putting people in an organization that are going to better the organization, not salty it or not hinder it in any way, shape, or form. And you're right, man. When it comes down to the intangibles, that's what it always is with the Marine Corps, dude. That's just, and that's everything. You know, you're going to have phenomenal people become phenomenal Marines. And it's because of those intangible traits. It's because of those things that they can't get anywhere else, right? And especially when we're living in a world where branches are now saying, "Hey, no diplomas needed, no GEDs needed," and all these different things. It's just like at this point, man, I really hope that starts pushing people to come towards us. I hope that all that does for us is get people to look at the Marine Corps in a different light. With us, our uniform structure, our rank structure, the discipline, the leadership, all these different things, and I hope it just opens that opportunity up. Thanks a lot for coming on, brother. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for, I know you got your own stuff going on at home, but to make the time to come on is really an amazing thing. So thank you for that, especially when you're on a duty like this. 45 minutes of your time is definitely well overdue. I know we've been talking about this and we've been speaking, I think, back and forth probably for about 2 years now, when you first got on the tour. So thank you so much, man, for coming on and being the first person to, talk about the program. I hope you have a great rest of the night. Good luck with everything, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.
All right, brother. Have a good one.